Hello, Pratibha KL. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Fine. So in the last video, so what we were discussing is regarding the process states and the process transitions. So regarding that, so like we have seen that we have basically say 4 process states, that is running state, blocked state, ready state, and terminate state. And also we had seen the state transitions, where we can expect the process to be transiting from one state to another state, namely ready to running state, blocked to ready state, running to ready state, running to blocked, as well as the last one was the running state to the terminated state. And also we have seen the 4 reasons as shown here, underlined statements are the 4 reasons. Okay, so based upon which you can have the termination of any process. Okay, and we have seen this figure also, and from like your textbook, like they are given a small table, like as you can see on the slide. Like, can you see the table here? Participants, can you see the table? Arpita AG, Abhishek,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So this table is basically like what he wants to express is how any 2 process, say for example P1 and P2, are being handled by the operating system for their successful execution. So like we'll be having the n number of processes in the ready state. Okay, so what do you mean by ready state? Basically, the CPU has got all the resources. I mean, like the process has got all the resources. So, but the process is not yet been allocated the CPU. So those processes will be in the ready state, and you can expect more than one number of process to be in the ready state. So if the process is getting the CPU, so then that particular process will be going from ready state to the running state. And remember that only one process will be in the running state. So once, like among the bunch of process in the ready state, if any one process is able to say get the CPU, so then that one single process will be going from ready state to the running state, and that will be executed by the CPU, right? And that we call it as running state, and only one process can be in the running state. So if everything is well and the process is getting all its resources, so then the process can complete its execution without any problem. Okay, hence if the process is able to complete its execution, so then the process will be switching from running state to the terminated state. Okay, let's say while executing a process on CPU, suppose if that particular process is requesting for a resource, or if the process is requesting for a wait, right? In that case, the particular process will be switching from running state to the blocked state. So why it is in blocked state now? Because the process which was running on the CPU is now requesting for a resource, or the process which is running on the CPU is willing to wait for some time. So for example, so the process can wait for event to occur. Like in that case, the process can be shifting from running state to the blocked state. So again, we have a state change from blocked state to the ready state. So when this transition will happen? Okay, so when the process is able to change from blocked state to ready state, that is based upon these 2 statements. Means if the process was waiting for a resource, and that particular resource is being granted by the operating system, like in that case, the process can be switching from blocked state to ready state. Or if like the process which was waiting for some event to occur, suppose if that event is occurring, right, in that case also the process can switch from blocked state to the ready state. And what about this preemption? So what is preemption? Basically, preemption is nothing but the forceful release of the resource. Okay, suppose if I have the execution of a process is being going on the CPU, So for example, if any other process of higher priority comes, okay, so then what OS will do is the OS will preempt the currently running process on the CPU, and it will execute the newly high priority process. Okay, so hence if any high priority process is interrupting the operating system, so then the OS will preempt the currently running process and it will start executing the new process, like which is of higher priority than the running process. So this particular process is indicated by the word preemption, means forceful release of resources from the process which is being running on the CPU currently and to execute another higher priority process. Okay, so like this diagram, like we have seen in the last class as well. Now coming to this particular class, suppose if you're able to see this particular table, so what is the intention behind this is, like here we're explaining that any two processes can be handled effectively by the operating system and how it is being done. Okay, so for example, like here we have two processes P1 and P2. Okay, and we have here the instant of time, right, and the event occurring and the remarks and the probable new states of the two processes. So now we can just analyze. Okay, suppose if we see the first row here, say at time 0, so the P1 is scheduled. Okay, like among the two processes P1 and P2, so the first process to be scheduled is P1, hence the P1 process is in the running state. So why P1 is in running state? Because now, so this process is currently getting the CPU, hence the CPU is executing this process P1. Okay, hence this P1 is in the running state, and obviously the second process P2 is in the ready state. Okay, why? Because even though the P2 is ready, so but currently the CPU is executing the first process, hence P2 process is now put in the ready state. Right, hope it's clear for the row 0. Hello, hello audience, are you listening? Hello, anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you go for second row is for time period, how much it is? Second row time period, what is the value of time period here? Hello, anybody? What is the time period value here?
10, sir.
Yeah.
10,
so,
sir.
Yeah. So for time value 10, so here P1 is preempted. So what do you mean by this? Earlier state of P1 was running, and after the completion of timestamp of say P1, okay. So now the P1 is preempted. So now the CPU is allocated to the second process, so called P2. Hence here P2 is scheduled, and for that reason now P2 is running and P1 is placed in the ready state. Okay, and at time period 20, again the P2 is preempted and P1 is scheduled. As this P2 is preempted, hence P2 is again put in the ready state, and as P1 is scheduled now, currently the CPU is executing the process P1, hence P1 is scheduled. So for that reason, now P1 is placed in the running state and P2 is placed in the ready state. So this, like row 1, row 2, and row 3 are easy to understand. So, but the real problem starts from the time period 25. Okay, so at time slot 25, so the P1 starts IO operation. So what was the previous state of P1? Can anybody tell me by looking at the table? What was the previous state of P1?
Running.
Yeah, exactly right. So the last state of P1 was here, like as you can see the mouse here. So the P1 was placed in the running state. So but now this P1 has started IO operation, and we know that if the process is starting IO operation means CPU becomes idle, and we cannot waste the valuable resource so-called CPU. Hence, what CPU will do is CPU will take second process for execution. That is P2 is scheduled now. Hence, the P1 is in the blocked state and the P2 process is being executed by the CPU. Hence, now this P2 process is in the running state. Okay. Yeah. So, like at time slot 35, right? At time slot 35. So this P2 is again preempted. So, but now our process P1 has not yet finished with the IO operation. Hence, the P1 process is still placed in the blocked state. So, but as this P2 is preempted, like this is being placed in the ready state. Okay. So again, after some time, you can see that again the P2 is being scheduled. Why? Because no other process is being there in the queue. Hence, again the P2 is scheduled. Hence, for that reason, so this P2 process is being placed in the running state, and now the process P1 is still in the blocked state. Why? Because the process P1 has not yet finished its IO operation. Hence, the process P1 is still being placed in the blocked state. Again, if you look at the time period 45, say time slot 45, so now this second process P2 has started its IO operation. And if I assume that the P1 process is being able to finish the IO operation, hence, if this P1 process has finished its IO operation, then we can take the process P1 into the ready state. And now as second process has started IO operation, means second process P2 is now placed in the blocked state. Okay, so what is the bottom line of all these transitions between say like running to ready, ready to running, etc. is how the OS will be able to handle any two process effectively for their successful execution. Okay, so this table is very much clear to you, I presume, along with like any two process, how the OS will be able to handle the execution of two process. So now we have here one more state to be explained, and that is like so-called the suspended state. Okay, so this 1, 2, 3, 4, like upper four circles are clear, I think. Okay, like the upper part of the figure is being discussed already. So, but now we are dealing with like one more state of the process, so-called suspended state. Okay, so for like this suspended process to be explaining, so for that, like I'll take a simple example here. Okay, now like let us see here. So the heading for this is suspended process. So if OS has limited memory and it can accommodate only two processes, say P1 and P2. Suppose the main memory is very much limited and this main memory can accommodate only two processes, namely P1 and P2, right? Like in such case, suppose if any other process, say for example P3 or P4 or P5 is be like it's one like say like CPU wants to execute one more process P3. So, but you can't place this new process like either P3 or P4 in the main memory. Why? Because the main memory is limited and it is already being occupied by the first process P1 and P2. Say if one or two more process P3 and P4 comes, so then what OS has to do is OS has to swap any one process like either P1 or P2 should be swapped so as to make some space for the new process in the main memory. Why? Because until and unless the new process, so-called P3, is being placed in the main memory, the CPU can't execute it. Okay. Hence, for any new process, okay, to be executed by the CPU, that particular new process, so-called, so for example, P3 has to be placed in the memory. So, but the main limitation here is we have a limited main memory. Okay, like in that case, like I need to swap any one process, either P1 or P2 needs to be swapped. So here the point is based upon which factor I can take this either P1 or P2 so from main memory and make some room for P3. So this choice of swapping is being done based upon the frequency of execution. Supposing the frequency of say P1 is less, so then I can replace or I can swap this P1 process to the hard disk and I can swap this P3 to the main memory so that P3 can be executed. Say if P1 is less frequently used, so I can swap the P1 process or I can replace this P1 process with P3. Okay, so for that what I'll do is I'll just swap this P1 process to hard disk and and the new process called P3 can be swapped into the main memory. So P1 will be stored in the hard disk and P3 is brought into the main memory for its execution. So the P1 which was swapped out will be the suspended process, means the P1 process will be staying in the suspended state, and that can be called as the suspended process. Okay, and that has been shown here. Okay, like in this figure you can see that the P1 is being stored in the hard disk, means P1 has been swapped out from the main memory, and the new process P3 is being swapped into the main memory or in the RAM. Okay, so now I assume that you have understood the meaning of suspended process. Okay, so suppose if any process is being swapped out from the main memory and placed in the hard disk or secondary storage, that can be called as the suspended process. Okay, so any process that has been swapped out from the main memory will be in the suspended state. Okay, right. So now let me discuss with the below two circles. Okay, the one we call it as a blocked swapped state, and the second state is ready swapped. Okay, why? Because the upper part of the figure, so-called so-called ready state, running state, terminated state, and block state were discussed in the last figure as well as in the present video. So now let me discuss the below two circles or states of the process, that is blocked swapped and the ready swapped. So for this you can take the help of this particular figure. No need to confuse here. The upper four circles or the process states are very much clear to us. Okay, like only we can analyze. So this swapped in state, swapped out process, and this particular transition from blocked swap to ready swapped. Okay, yeah. So for this particular transition from blocked to swapped out, so for this particular transition from blocked state to blocked swapped, right, here is the corresponding explanation, right, like indicated by the arrow mark. Okay, so as to have the swapped out operation. Okay, so for this particular swapped out operation, say from blocked to blocked swapped, here is the explanation. Assume that, so this P1 is blocked state. So why any process will be in the blocked state? Why? Because say assume that the process is select requesting for some resource, okay, or the process may be select waiting for some event to occur. So for these such reasons, any process can be in the block state. So now assume that, so this process P1 is in the block state, right, as it has requested for some resource. So now the process P1 is being swapped out from the memory. Why? Because if any process is blocked, means no need to keep that particular process in the main memory. Hence, what we do normally is we will swap out the process that was in the block state, right, to the hard disk. So now the state of process is being changed from blocked to blocked swapped. Why? Because the P1 process, which was in the blocked state, is now being swapped from the main memory to the hard disk. Okay, hence its state will be changing from blocked to blocked swapped. Okay, here it is. Okay, now for the second transition from blocked swapped to blocked. Okay, so for this the explanation and the corresponding figure is here. Okay, like in the earlier like in this diagram, what we did was, like the process P1 was in the block state, hence I moved this process P1 from main memory to the hard disk, and accordingly, so this P3 which was in the hard disk is now swapped into the main memory. Say for example, so now this P3 is in main memory. Okay, now if P2 has finished its execution, here it is. So this P2, after its execution, it will be removed from the main memory. Hence the process which was swapped out. Which one was that? This is the process P1 which was swapped out in the previous flow. Okay, so now this swapped out process will be swapped in. Hence, the process of P1 is now being changed from block to swapped, from block to swap to swap in. Okay. Yeah. So for this particular state transition from blocked swap to ready swapped. Okay. So for this, the explanation is given rightly here. So now, say this process P1, which was in blocked state, so it was swapped out and it entered into the blocked swapped state of the process. Suppose if the particular blocked swapped process is able to get the required resource, or if the event which was waiting for the process, like now now if the event has occurred, so then the state of process will be changing from blocked swap to ready swapped. Okay, and that has been neatly given here. So upon granting the request, right, of the resources, or if the wait is been completed, like in that case, the process which was in the blocked swapped will be able to change from blocked swap to ready swapped. So the resource are granted to process P1, so then the process P1 will jump to the ready swapped. Okay, and after the ready swapped state of process, the next state of process will be the swap in. Okay, means that any process which was in ready swapped, right, and upon the process being ready for execution, that particular process will be changing its state from ready swap to the swap in, means again it will be placed in the means main memory, and HD means hard disk, where this is the primary memory or the RAM, and its hard disk will be acting as the secondary storage. Okay, so you can analyze and you can explain the upper four states of the process easily, and to explain the below two process states, namely blocked swapped and ready swapped, you can take the help of these two figures. Okay, like using these two analysis, you can easily explain this like bottom part of the figure, namely blocked swapped and the ready swapped process states. Yeah. Right. So the next topic is process context and PCB. So this word process context is nothing but the process environment. Okay. So once the process is been executed, so what all things that will be associated with the running process. So like that can be called as a process environment or the process context. Here the heading is the process context and the PCB. So this word PCB stands for process control block, right? Like in short, like call it as PCB. And we have here the information that can be stored inside the process control block. Okay. So for now, no need to analyze much about the process control block. Okay. Like in the upcoming slide, I will be having like in detail information regarding the PCB, like so-called process control block. So for now, we can just discuss the concept of the process context. Okay, so this process context simply indicates that the environment of a process. Okay, so once the process is been running on the CPU, so what all things that will be associated with the running process, that will be called as the process context or the process environment. And according to this particular figure, so like all these terms will be associated with the running process, right, or the process context, also called as the process environment, right? Like namely the process context will be involving, say, the memory information and the resource information and the file pointers and the code of the code of the process and the data or the variables associated with the process and the stack. Okay. And regarding the definition of this process control block, so this PCB is nothing but a data structure that will contain all the information related with the process. Okay, like according to the book, like we have this so-called process identification number or the unique identification number, using which any OS will be able to identify the process. Okay, like we have a unique identification number for each and every process. Like that will be the first field in the process control block, and second field is the process state. So the current state of any process is indicated by the process state, And as we know that any process can be staying in the ready state or in the running state or in the terminated state or in the blocked state, etc. So like the current state of the process will be indicated by the process state, and it will be acting as the second field in the process control block. And regarding this GPR contents, so this GPR stands for sorry. So this GPR stands for general purpose register contents. So while execution of any process, the process may be using so many registers, like so many CPU registers, right, index registers, etc. So the contents of those registers will be stored in the GPR contents. And this PC value. So this PC stands for the program counter, and the main function of this PC is to hold the address of next instruction to be executed. So basically all these will be the fields that will be indicated in the process control block. Not to mention, for each and every process, I will be having a separate PCB. So each and every process will be having its own process control block, and all the PCBs will be maintained by the operating system. Okay, so these PCBs is maintained by the operating system, and for each and every process, you have its own process control block. And regarding this process context, okay, so this is nothing but the associated information that will be concerned with the running process, and here are all the associated fields or associated entities, okay, which are concerned with the running process. Okay, so the information in the PCB about the process are here are there. Okay, according to the book, like they have shown process ID and process state and GPR contents and PC value. So, but apart from these four fields, you do have much more information that will be stored in the process control block. Okay, so the first is the process state. As I told, any process can be in the ready state or in the running state or in the waiting state. So the current state of the process, okay, in which the process is there, that will be indicated by the process state. So the second field in the process control block is process ID. Okay, so what basically is process ID? So this process ID is nothing but the unique identification number which is given or offered by the OS for each and every process. So this process ID will be assigned by the operating system for each and every process, so as to select get the information regarding that particular process. So the OS can identify any process by its unique identification number. Okay, and the third information in the PCB is the program counter, right, or the PC value. So this will be holding the address of next instruction to be executed in the process. Why? Because any process is nothing but the program in execution. And what is a program? Basically, program is nothing but a set of instructions where for each instruction you have the corresponding address associated with it. Okay, hence the address of next instruction to be executed will be stored in the program counter. Okay, and the fourth content is CPU registers, means what type of CPU registers is needed for a process for its execution. Namely, I can go for a use of the general purpose registers, or the process can make use of accumulator or index registers, etc. So this information regarding the registers will be indicated in the CPU register field of the process control block, right? So next field or information in the PCB is CPU scheduling information. So this means that information that will be helpful in scheduling a process. Like again, the word scheduling a process basically means what? Allocation of CPU for the process. Okay, so this allocation of CPU for the process, or to decide which process that will be executed next. Okay, that will be the scheduling of the process. So the information that will be helping in the scheduling of the process, say for example, its priority or its arrival time or its completion time, also called as burst time, will be stored in the CPU scheduling information of the process control block. So sixth field is IO status information or input and output status information, and this field includes list of input and output allocated to a process. Okay, so this IO status information will be including the list of input and output devices that will be allocated to a process. Say, for example, the examples for input and output device may be a so-called printer. So the printer is the output device, and this monitor is also a output device, and keyboard, mouse, light pen, joysticks are examples of input devices. Okay, so basically this input output status information will be storing the list of IO devices, IO, right, input and output devices that has been allocated to a process. Why? Because say for any process to be executing, okay, like it may need some resource, like say for example the CPU time or the memory or input on output device, etc. Okay, so the list of IO devices that has been allocated for a particular process for its execution will be stored in the IO status information of the PCB. Seventh information is memory information, and this includes how much memory is been allocated to a process, means the address of the memory allocated to a process. Why? Because so for execution of any process, like we need some amount of memory, right? Like so that that particular process can be stored in the RAM. So the so like which block of memory is been allocated for the process for its execution. So for example, the starting address and the ending address of the process. Okay, all the information like that includes how much memory is been allocated to the process, right, will be stored in the memory information. So basically all these are the fields of information that will be there in the process control block. Okay, like which is separate for the individual process. So like each and every process will be able to maintain its own process control block, which will be having all these relevant information regarding a process. Okay, so simple example is been given here. So we have this process ID and process state and priority, CPU registers, program counters, input output information, memory information, and list of open files as well. So for a process, like it may be using so many files. So the process may be say like opening a file. Okay, so on which all files the process has been able to operate. So all the list of open files will be also included in the information of a particular process that will be stored in the so-called PCB. Okay, so for example, so the process ID can be say 2453 can be the process ID, and regarding the process state can be like in the running state, and regarding the priority, like as we know that the priority will be like an integer value. So for example, the priority for a process P is been assigned as 6. So for example, so next field is the CPU registers, and the process is currently using the index register as well as the BC, like say BC register pair. So for example, and the program counter whose main function is to store the address of next instruction to be executed. So the program content may be 2400H. Sorry. And regarding the regarding input and output information, so my process is currently using the printer as the output device, and the memory information is 50 KB is been allocated for a particular process, and the list of open files like will be also indicated here. So like this is nothing but a data structure, so called the process control block, that which has got these many information fields, right? And the relevant example is been also shown here. So from examination point of view, so you can have this particular figure, okay, like this diagram can be for the process context or the process environment, like which is basically indicating the associated information, right, along with the running process. Okay, and regarding the PCB, okay, so where for each and every process, like it has got its own process control block having these many information, and you can also mention this as an example for a PCB. Okay, so we have hardly 5 minutes remaining. Yeah, so again the fields of the PCB is being mentioned here. So the same information like what all we discussed is been indicated here in the form of a table. So for example, the process ID, Like we know that for each and every process, we have a unique ID that will be assigned by the operating system upon any process creation. So once the process is been created, means OS will be able to allocate a particular ID or an identification number for the process. And second one is regarding the parent and the child IDs, and regarding priority as well. So upon creation of a process, the OS will be able to allocate a priority for a particular process. Again, the word priority indicates that it is a numeric value. Okay, so a process is assigned a priority at its creation. Okay, and the kernel may change the priority dynamically depending on the nature of the process. Like whether the process is belonging to CPU bound or IO bound, the priority may keep on changing dynamically as and how the process is getting executed. Again, let me know the meaning of these words: CPU bound programs and IO bound programs. What are these? CPU bound programs or process will be having a more amount of computations, more amount of calculations, rather than the IO operation. And if any program or process is involving more amount of IO operations, those process or programs will be coming under the IO bound. And the fourth field in the PCB is the process state. That will be able to indicate the current state of a process. So for example, the process can be in a running state or ready state or terminated state or blocked state, etc. And regarding this PSW stands for processor status word or the program status word, which will be indicating the current status of the program or the process. Okay, so we have the use of this like normally it is a 16-bit register. Okay, suppose if you see any microcontroller or microprocessor, means you can have the information regarding any arithmetic and logical operations. Okay, once we have any operation to be done on the information or the data, so the status of the operation will be indicated in the program status word. Okay, again we can have this GPRs. So this GPR stands for general purpose registers. That means the content of a general purpose register. So when the process last got blocked or was preempted. So we have information regarding the general purpose registers that will be used by a process during its execution, and regarding the event information also. So for a process in the blocked state, this field contains information concerning the event for which the process is waiting. Okay, so on what event the process is waiting, okay, that will be indicated in the event information field of the process control block. So basically you can have this particular figure, okay, right, this particular figure, as well as say this particular figure for the process control block, as well as the relevant field that will be involved in the so-called PCB for any process. Okay, so next we'll be having this process interaction, and that will be covering in the next video. So for now you can revise the things, and today itself, like I'll be sending you the module 1 notes. Okay, and all the points are being framed according to the question paper. Okay, so can go through the PDF of the module 1 notes of operating system. Okay, so for now so you can just log out. You can say you can just log out and be present for the next class. Right? Thank you.